This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back to This Week in Louisiana Politics. As we mentioned, Congress has managed to avoid another government shutdown. They did so by passing some funding legislation, and they did that on Thursday. They didn't even run out the clock like they have in years past. Both the House and Senate passed that legislation. One of the members of Congress who was voting on that bill is U.S. Representative Garrett Graves from Louisiana. He joins us now. Thanks for coming on the show, Congressman.
You bet. Great to be with you.
So I know this has been a very contentious fight, a battle down at Capitol Hill. This spending bill, by the way, this is just another stopgap. It only funds the government through, I believe, late February. First of all, how did you vote on this bill?
I voted against the appropriations bill because they blocked some really key amendments that would have improved the bill.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I didn't know if that was a deal breaker for you. I was going to bring up your amendments. We got your email yesterday about, I believe, 3 or 4 amendments. A lot of this appropriates some money, some much needed money, you say, for Louisiana, correct?
Yes, and you know, Fred, the bill, what it does is it provides about $4 billion. There's another program about $1.5 billion, and it's funding assistance and humanitarian assistance and disaster assistance for citizens of other countries. And when I looked at that, I'm like, look, this is not okay to have people in Louisiana that are victims of Hurricane Ida that I've seen firsthand, that are living in tents or people with tarps wrapped around the poles that are elevating their homes and living on the inside. Look, this isn't okay. This is America. These are our citizens. These are our taxpayers. And they need a helping hand. And we're not going to go put citizens of other countries first. And so we offered a few amendments that were designed to ensure that we were putting our own needs in America, the needs of our citizens, our Hurricane Ida victims first. And those amendments, unfortunately, were rejected. We even put an amendment forward that was just going to delay some of the cost increases associated with the flood insurance program. And those were rejected as well. And I can't support something that's going to put citizens of other countries before our own.
So I wanted to drill down on some of these amendments. You mentioned the delay of flood insurance premiums. Also, there's amendment number 3 that would provide $3 billion for hurricane and fire disaster victims in 2020 and 2021. So we're talking about disaster aid for several hurricanes, correct?
It would. We did 2020 and 2021, and the idea there, first of all, the needs of the folks in Southwest Louisiana that were victims of Hurricanes Laura, Delta, and Zeta last year, just extraordinary. There has only been $600 million to date provided for them, woefully short of what is needed. The reason we were a little bit more broad in including the fires in it as well is trying to include, well, first of all, there were legitimate needs there, but the other is just trying to bring in more support for the amendment from folks from California and out west as well to try and get our initiative across the goal line.
So raising the debt ceiling was part of this issue as well, and that became a contentious part of the arguments. Which side of the debate were you on with the raising of the debt ceiling?
Well, look, obviously no one wants the United States to default on its debts. And where the problem is that when you're in a situation where this year we're on track to potentially spend triple the amount of money we would spend in an annual appropriations process, normally around maybe $4 trillion. We're on track this year to maybe spend $12 trillion. That is completely irresponsible. It is wasteful spending. And to come in and spend those kinds of dollars, then come in and say, oh, look, we need to raise our credit card limit. No, that's absolutely not okay. And let's keep in mind, Speaker Pelosi has unilaterally moved forward on all of these bills, unilaterally moving forward on them. So why is it all of a sudden that she's coming in and asking Republicans for help in raising the nation's credit card limit? She created this problem. We are fundamentally opposed to heaping that type of debt on our children and grandchildren. To spend $1 now to go rebuild the Kennedy Center, or to spend $1 now for the National Endowment for the Humanities, or to spend $1 now on bailing out private pensions that were mismanaged and causing our children and grandchildren to have to pay $10, $15, or $20 to pay that debt off, it's just irresponsible. We've got to focus on true priorities and needs and not go out there and have all this superfluous, wasteful spending and have to raise the credit card limit. So I'm not going to participate in wasteful spending and raising credit card limits.
So during this debate, reportedly, some Republicans were going to use the funding bill as leverage to get rid of President Biden's vaccine mandates. Were you part of that effort?
Well, that was an effort in the Senate.
Okay.
But we certainly have supported efforts in the past to not allow the government to force people to inject something into themselves. That whole concept to me is so concerning, that the government believes they have the right to force people to inject something into their bodies. And look, I'm not an anti-vax guy. I am a pro individual freedom and liberty person, and I think that is a discussion, if that is a decision that needs to take place between a person and their doctor. And government does not have a role in there. Look, I'm vaccinated. I'm not, I'm not ashamed of that. But it is very concerning to think that our own government can force us to inject things in ourselves. This is a medical decision that I believe individuals need to take, and I'm fine if people choose not to get vaccinated. Maybe they take some additional mitigation measures, what have you, to make sure that they're not causing any impact on the community. But that's not government's role.
So I think there's a lot of hard feelings down on Capitol Hill, especially between Republicans and Democrats throughout this whole process. This is just a stopgap measure, and as I'd mentioned, it funds the government through the end of, or close to the end of February. What do you see happening in the future when you guys need to pass another funding bill?
Fred, you can go back and look. Historically, appropriations bills have been bipartisan. There have been things that certainly you may have a big appropriations bill, and I may not agree with everything that's in there, but those are things that we can sit down, we can work on a bipartisan basis, allow me to offer amendments and try and make a run at making changes to it. They've blocked us from offering amendments. They blocked the full due process of these bills, and going out there and spending trillions of dollars that is largely unilaterally determined without an open process where you allow us an opportunity to represent the priorities of South Louisiana. That's not a process that I'm going to go out there and defend or support. And so if they want to come back together and have rational bipartisan conversations about true fiscal responsibility, true priorities of this nation, and talk about how to address the limited taxpayer dollars we have, how to prioritize those across our agencies and across our government programs. Absolutely. I'd love to do it. I'd love to be involved in those conversations. But right now, what we've been seeing over and over again is we've been seeing Speaker Pelosi and others just dictating to Congress what's going to happen. And everybody's supposed to go out there and vote for it. And that doesn't give me an opportunity. In fact, it prohibits me or prevents me from having an opportunity to represent people in South Louisiana. That's what I'm here to do.
And Congressman, I'm just curious, since you offered the amendments for Louisiana this time, when it comes around again to fund the government, will you be offering those same amendments?
Well, first, look, I hope to be able to work these into the base text of the bill. That's the way the process is supposed to work. But if they continue to make these unilateral decisions to improperly prioritize funding, then absolutely we will be dusting those amendments off and offering them to the next appropriations bill in February.
All right, Congressman Garrett Graves from Louisiana. We'll be watching that process as well. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.